Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. Canada is partnering with Australia to build an early warning radar system in the Arctic. Mark Carney made the announcement in Iqaluit today during his first domestic trip as Prime Minister. The CBC's TJ Deer has our top story tonight.
Fresh from a trip to Paris and London, Mark Carney arrived in Iqaluit to talk about Arctic sovereignty. He announced a new early warning radar system that will be able to detect threats across the north. Carney also announced more than $250 million to upgrade 4 power plants in Nunavut, create more housing, and help develop a hydroelectricity plant. Carney acknowledges there's been a lack of investment in Nunavut in the past.
I recognize the issue. You respond to it by delivering over time and showing the importance of being here.
Inuit Tapahit Kanatami President Natan Obed gave his reaction to the investment.
It's wonderful to see that the Government of Canada invest more in housing in the jurisdiction. This will be, a lifeline for many Inuit who have been waiting for homes.
Speaking afterwards at the Legislative Assembly, Premier PJ Akeakok says he was encouraged by Carney's visit.
I think it's a great signal that we need to see investments for our communities to thrive, to assert our sovereignty in the north. So it's a great day today.
A former negotiator of the Nunavut Land Claims Agreement says the needs of Inuit have to be considered. Tagak Curley is also a former Nunavut MLA.
We might be in danger while they're always talking about sovereignty in Canada. This is very important. Our land is too open, and for that reason, when they start planning and preparing for our future, they have to rush to make things better.
In a statement, Nunavut NDP MP Lori Idlaut said Carney's announcement is just a start, with nothing announced for projects the NDP believes are priorities, such as the Grays Bay Road and Port project. But with a federal election looming, how much more work Carney can do remains to be seen. TJ Deer, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Yellowknifers will see changes to the landscape around a giant mine this year. The remediation team behind the massive cleanup project gave an annual update to Yellowknife City Council this week. As Jocelyn Chappelle explained, some familiar structures at the site won't be around much longer. Several giant mine buildings in Yellowknife will soon be gone. The mine's remediation team plans to demolish the mill this year. Tearing down other buildings at the site will continue into next year. The demolition will happen alongside ongoing waste management. After the mine closed, over 200,000 tons of arsenic waste was left behind. Natalie Plato is the deputy director of the remediation project. Plato says a new water treatment plant is almost ready as well. It'll treat arsenic-contaminated water and is expected to be up and running next year. Right now, contaminated water is stored in a large pond prior to treatment. That water spilling into Yellowknife Bay is a concern of city councillors. Plato says pumping water into the pond will stop next year once the new water treatment plant is ready for use. Then, she says, they will pump the water underground and let it dry out. Jocelyn Chappelle, CBC News, Yellowknife. Police in Inuvik NWT are hoping someone has a video of a stabbing in the community. It happened shortly before 1 a.m. on Saturday. RCMP got a report that someone had been stabbed multiple times by 2 people. They found a male victim with numerous stab wounds. He was medevaced with serious injuries. Police want the public to check any cameras they may have and share the footage.
Specifically, anybody with surveillance cameras, doorbell cams, etc., in the area of the intersection of Navy Road and Bypass Road, all the way to Navy Road and Kigmalik, including Adams. Anybody who's got footage from March 15th, approximately 12:15 a.m. to 1 a.m., if they could check and share any of that with police.
The RCMP's Forensic Identification Unit is assisting the Inuvik detachment with the investigation. A lawyer representing a man in a fatal drunk driving crash on the Inuvik-Tuktoyaktuk Highway 3 years ago has asked to be removed from the case. The accused, Joseph Wright, was expected in court this morning but failed to appear. He's facing 2 charges following the deadly 2022 crash. This morning, his lawyer told the court she hasn't been able to reach him since March 5th. The judge approved her request to withdraw from the case, but with Wright's trial just 3 weeks away, the judge says Wright's absence puts the trial schedule in serious jeopardy. A warrant has been issued for his arrest, and the court is set to reconvene tomorrow morning. As Donald Trump keeps up his threats on Canada's sovereignty, other Western allies are looking for ways to defend the West without the U.S. Canada and Europe want to forge closer ties with each other. Evan Dyer tells us what that alliance might look like and what Canada could bring to it.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. You're right now not in a very good position. You're gambling with World War III.
Mr. President, the 6 weeks since Donald Trump assumed office have come close to breaking the Western alliance.
We're living in the most momentous and dangerous of times.
I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you.
It's in our interest that NATO survive. If it doesn't survive, we'll have to be prepared to think of other alternatives.
Europe is rearming on a massive scale. Countries are introducing mandatory military training, even talking about going nuclear. But where does that leave Canada?
It only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have.
Lately, Canadians are feeling threatened mainly by the United States. Europeans are not. So why would Europe invite Canada, with its small and understrength military, into a mutual defense pact?
The single greatest risk to Canada has always been Canada alone in the world. If we don't make a concrete offer to Europe, and Europe goes it alone, and we don't have a partner that values us in Europe, our only option is to draw even closer to the United States than we already are.
But there are those in Europe who want to keep Canada inside the circle.
Canada is the only non-European country that's been invited to these meetings. Of course, it's a NATO ally, which makes sense, of course, because first and foremost, a sense of common values and an equal commitment, to upholding the international order, which is being severely strained at the moment.
If there is a security agreement, it should be even-handed, and it should encompass also the idea to defend Canada.
Canada may never be able to offer Europe much in the way of troop presence, but it has other things that Europe needs. Europe has been struggling to get off Russian oil and gas. It remains dependent on liquid natural gas from the US.
Europe is significantly open to energy extortion by the Trump administration.
It is much better to finance Canada and to receive Canadian fossil energy.
That requires Canada to build pipelines to get its oil and gas to the East Coast. The Europeans have also shown strong interest in Canadian renewables, but again, the infrastructure needs to be built.
If I was a politician, I would be saying, every factory in Canada that's going out of business, we're going to figure out how we can make it part of the defense industrial complex and how we can provide for our European partners.
Well, first,
and Canadian politicians are starting to pitch this country as a valuable ally in search of a new alliance.
Why? Because we have all the energy necessary, we have all the fertilizers and potash necessary, we have all the uranium necessary, the hydroelectricity, the oil and gas, we have all the people, the critical minerals, the talent. I could go on and on and on.
An energy and natural resource superpower with a large landmass far removed from Russian missiles. A place where European allies can train their forces and safely manufacture arms and other critical technology. That could be the basis of a new grand bargain between Canada and Europe at a time when the US is no longer a neighbor that Canada can trust.
That was the CBC's Evan Dyer. Russian President Vladimir Putin has now agreed to a 30-day partial ceasefire in Ukraine. It comes shortly after a much-anticipated lengthy phone call between Putin and Donald Trump. Chris Brown has those details.
Speaking to Russian oligarchs, Vladimir Putin set the stage for his phone call with Donald Trump, warning foreign businesses in uncompromising language they'll have to play by his rules. His message to Trump later about Ukraine sounded much the same. Putin said no to an immediate 30-day ceasefire, which Ukraine has already agreed to and Trump pushed for. Instead, Putin offered a truce that only applies to air attacks on energy and infrastructure targets. A big benefit to him, as Ukraine has been using drones and new long-range missiles to hit Russian oil and gas centers.
So the goal of Putin, and it's very obvious to me, within these 30 days, to strengthen Russia and to weaken Ukraine.
This Ukrainian MP says Putin is simply stalling for time while keeping Trump on side.
I think what Putin has done, he has prepared a trap for Trump. Because, Putin continues to insist on such additional and totally unacceptable demands for Ukraine as to stop mobilization and to stop providing to Ukraine weaponry.
Russia and Ukraine did agree to exchange prisoners, 175 each, and return some wounded Ukrainian soldiers. In a social media post, Trump said the call was productive. Many elements of a contract for peace were discussed, including the fact that thousands of soldiers are being killed, and both President Putin and President Zelensky would like to see the end of it. All of these talks happened over the head of Ukraine's president, who's visiting Finland. Vladimir Zelensky said Putin is clearly not ready to end the war. Both leaders will likely claim a win. Trump that negotiations will continue soon, likely somewhere in the Middle East, and Putin that Trump remains engaged while Russia's armies continue to pound Ukraine on the battlefield. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
A renowned Yukon storyteller and performer has canceled upcoming performances in the United States. Ivan Coyote says as a trans person, they felt they had to take a strong stance given the current climate between Canada and the U.S. Coyote canceled performances in California and Tennessee. They were in our CBC Whitehorse studio recently. Here's what they had to say.
Right now, I risk getting disappeared. And how am I going to help anyone if I'm detained somewhere, or if it stresses me out to the point where I have a coronary, right? Or I get red flagged and I get my work visa yanked, which is happening to. That's happening to people with X as their gender marker in their passports. They're just getting turned away, and they might be flagged forever, right? So, and I've got loved ones, and that's the other thing. I have friends in America, and most Americans at this point are horrified, and certainly anyone who's my friend or that I work with, and people in the art scene, they're all horrified. They're embarrassed, they're ashamed, they're scared for themselves. Luckily, I've never changed my gender pronoun marker in my documents because of stuff like this. I was afraid of getting invited one day to Mumbai or something like that, and I always, in the back of my head, I would always joke, and then there's America, you never know what those guys are going to do. And now it's just getting scary.
That was Yukon storyteller Ivan Coyote explaining why they canceled upcoming performances in the U.S.
When you're able to take the next step and invest in yourself and your future, that brings a ton of security.
Definitely something we never thought we'd be able to get if it wasn't for the homebuyers plan.
Find out if you qualify at canada.ca/everydollar-counts.
The claims period for 2 classes in the First Nations Child and Family Services and Jordan's Principal Settlement is now open.
First Nations children who were removed from their homes on reserve between April 1st, 1991 and March 31st, 2022, and their caregiving parents and caregiving grandparents can now submit a claim for compensation.
There are free supports to help you fill out your form.
And mental health and wellness supports if you need them.
Learn more and submit your claim at fnchildclaims.ca.
Having 2 kids in diapers impacts every part of our lives. The Canada Child Benefit allows us to give our boys extracurricular activities. It opens their world.
Find out if you qualify at canada.ca/everydollar-counts.
Forced and coerced sterilization of Indigenous people is still happening. The Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice has supports available for Indigenous survivors. Join the National Registry and access up to $70,000 in healing support funds for individuals, families, and communities. The deadline to apply is March 31st. If you or someone you know has experienced forced and coerced sterilization, please call 1-877-386-0750 or visit reproductivejusticesurvivors.ca for more information.
GST, HST credit, I wasn't expecting a lot back, but when I did check my account randomly and I seen it there, I was like, oh wow, it's a nice little surprise. Just getting that little extra, it means a lot.
Find out if you qualify at canada.ca/everydollar-counts.
Teachers in Nunavut are training this week as the territory prepares to launch a new curriculum. It's centered around Inuit language and culture. The new curriculum will be introduced to kindergarten and grade 1 students in every community. It'll begin in the upcoming 2025-26 school year. Nunavut's education minister says it'll help address the specific needs of students and better reflect their identity and environment.
Well, they're going to be immersed in our identity and they're going to be proud, I think, from the get-go. And we have a resurgence of, pride and learning who we are and having that fundamental value incorporated in.
The new curriculum will be phased in. All grades are expected to use it by 2036. It's an ongoing issue across Canada. Family doctor shortages continue to affect every region of the country. Ariana Gomez tells us how it's hitting rural and remote areas of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Beautiful Beaver Peninsula is nestled on Newfoundland's northeast coast, about 6 hours' drive from the capital, home to roughly 5,000 residents. But for many here, healthcare is a constant looming concern.
I live with my gas tank full all the time. I do not go below half a tank because if I'm here in the middle of the night and there's no doctor available.
There are just 2 full-time doctors on the peninsula, one added to a new family care team just last month. And with almost 50,000 people on the province's primary care waitlist, it's not the only town struggling. The province says it's working on recruitment, offering a robust incentive package to doctors up to $650,000 in bonuses. It's recruited 140 physicians and over 970 nurses since April 2023. But so far, it's not enough. So virtual care, including virtual ER, is the stopgap.
You've got a nurse in the emergency room who can communicate directly virtually with a doctor 2 hours away and can get the advice to give to the patient, and the patient is there. That's a good solution. Otherwise, you close the emergency room. So which would you prefer?
For Miranda Penny, it didn't feel like a good solution when her father, Terry Penny, was rushed to the ER last year. He didn't have a family doctor and struggled to manage a chronic lung condition.
And within a matter of a few minutes, once he got in the hospital, he passed, but he was pronounced dead by a doctor on a TV screen, which, while I'm thankful that virtual care is an option for people in rural communities, it's almost cold and dehumanizing to have your loved one there in front of you passed away and you're told that by a doctor on a TV screen. You don't receive the same comfort as you was if that was physical.
Ariana Gomez, CBC News, Bayward, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Canada's annual inflation rate jumped up to 2.6% in February. It is the highest in 8 months, and as Nisha Patel reports, more increases could be on the way.
The end of the sales tax holiday last month helped push prices higher for goods like children's toys and books, alcohol and meals at restaurants. Canadians also paid more to go on holiday, as strong demand pushed up the cost of travel tours by almost 19%. So inflation in Canada came in hotter than expected in February, 2.6%, up sharply from 1.9% the month before.
Our eyebrows are raised because we were looking at this. We're like, okay, how sustainable is this? This is the question we have. Is this going to be something that's going to persist?
And there could be more inflation in the months ahead as the trade war between Canada and the United States drags on. Retaliatory tariffs and a lower loonie could push prices here higher. Economists say that puts the Bank of Canada in a tricky position. Policymakers need to weigh holding interest rates steady to keep inflation in check or cutting rates to boost the economy.
The big issue for the Bank of Canada is that tariffs in and of themselves is a big growth shock to Canada. And we wonder how much more insurance the Bank of Canada wants to take out to protect against the downside potential of tariffs.
There are other moving parts for the central bank to consider, including the removal of the consumer carbon tax and the possibility of a fresh round of U.S. tariffs at the beginning of April. The Bank of Canada has cut the key interest rate 7 times over the past year, from 5% down to 2.75%. Now economists are divided whether the bank will pause or cut again at its interest rate meeting next month. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
A resident of Kimmeroot, Nunavut, is now a proud recipient of a King Charles III Coronation Medal.
Jeannie Padlo.
Local elder Jeannie Padluk was honored with the medal on Friday. Nunavut Premier PJ Akyaguk presented it to her during a feast to celebrate the opening of the community's new airport terminal. She was recognized for her significant contributions and her work to strengthen cultural practices and the well-being of her community.
Thank you. I'm thankful. I wasn't expecting this. I welcome everyone. It's hard to find words to express how I am feeling. I feel like I haven't done too much, but I'm so thankful this was arranged. I thank my fellow Kimmeroot youth. I'm very well taken care of. I'm stopping before I will start to cry.
The Coronation Medal was introduced to mark the ascension of King Charles III in 2023. The medal is awarded to 30,000 people in Canada. Spring is just around the corner, and plans for the annual Nunavut Quest dog sled race are almost complete. Organizers say the race will begin on April 11th. It starts in Pond Inlet and ends in Igloolik. The mushers will be traveling about 50 kilometers each day. At that rate, it'll take about a week to reach the finish line, depending on the weather. Organizers say the race isn't just for fun, it's an important practice to keep tradition alive.
They probably never had races back then. Now we use it so we don't lose our ways of using dogs to travel. I want young people to keep practicing. We can only get better by never giving up.
Atagutiak says each musher must have 8 to 15 dogs on their team. The winner will take home $20,000. Registration is open until April 7th. The 2025 Special Olympic World Winter Games in Turin, Italy have ended, and a cross-country skier from the Yukon won a gold medal. It was a fantastic showing for Team Canada, which won a total of 166 medals, including 39 gold. Darby McIntyre is a member of Team Canada's 4-person relay team that skied to gold on Saturday.
When I won that relay and had the opportunity to race skiing with people around the world, it's the equivalent of making it to the top of a mountain for me. That level of gratification is just high levels and a real just energy, ego boost for me.
Now, this wasn't McIntyre's first time medaling at the Special Olympic World Games. They competed in track at the World Summer Games in 2015, winning bronze and gold. You can hear more from Darby McIntyre tomorrow on Yukon Morning on CBC Radio 1. There was also a well-deserved hero's welcome for NWT Olympian Joshua Boudreau. The speed skater also competed at the 2025 Special Olympics in Turin, Italy. Boudreau arrived in Yellowknife this afternoon, proudly displaying the 3 medals that he won. Fans and well-wishers were there to greet him in the airport terminal.
Hi, Sandra Turner. I'm here at the Yellowknife Airport waiting to welcome Josh Boudreau back from Italy. He has been competing in the Special Olympics World Games 2025 in Torino. So he's due back here shortly, and he's coming back with a silver medal and a bronze medal from speed skating. Josh did silver in the 1,000 and bronze in the 500. He's amazing. You know, that kid just lives and breathes speed skating. I chaperoned him down to the camp in Quebec just prior to coming to Italy, and he was just so excited. And in his trials, he was 1 second off with one of the other countries. He's like, oh, I sure hope I get to compete with him because it's really close. So he was very competitive, very excited, and such a gentleman on the ice. So. Give me a hug, buddy. Oh, you did us proud. Good job. Good job. Oh, oh my God.
It was a super good experience. Being to Europe for the first time was great. Got to have some gelato. It was really great.
Can we give Josh one big cheer?
My name is Nicole Bonnell. I was mission staff with Team Canada. I saw 2 of his finals, and he's an incredible skater. He's got a lot of heart. He's put in so much time and energy into this. He's busy all the time. It's incredible how much he trains both on ice and in the off season doing track and field. So you really saw that in his races, that he had so much power and so much stamina, and he really just did such an amazing job to bring home 2 silvers and a bronze.
So I was supposed to go to Kazan, and then they canceled it due to COVID, and then after that, because of the war in Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, yeah.
Holy.
And then I had to make the team all over again.
And what was that work like for you?
I mean, I had to do the whole work again, but hard work pays off, right?
The Special Olympics is just such an amazing organization, and for anyone who has an intellectual disability and just feels like they don't belong, I really encourage you and your family to check it out, because it's an amazing space for inclusion and just helping you really discover who you are. So I really just encourage people to look it up, and if you're interested in volunteering, chapters are always looking for volunteers.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
In your once stolen vehicle in West Africa.
That is crazy. Jumped in a car and then off they went.
I want my truck back. 300% increase in auto theft.
300%.
It's organized crime, well financed.
They are selling vehicles that are insecure.
They're working on it.
We hear that from a lot of automakers.
Yeah.
We think we found your car.
Oh my goodness.
Earth is our collective home. That makes us all family. As family, we strive to love and protect each other. Diversity of species is our strength. We are all connected. We survive and thrive together. We celebrate many things this season and make many choices. Taking care of our family should be the easiest. We're in this together.
One good scheme deserves another.
Stay on him.
I feel we may be in for a challenging few days.
Cheers. Cheers.
12 new records for a penny.
Sounds too good to be true.
It's not a scam. Cancel anytime. It's all in the fine print.
You're going to end up on the hook for a lot more.
You think I'm stupid? I used your name to sign up.